WABC New York and 107.1 WLIR Hampton Bays.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Good morning. This is James Flippin filling in for Noam Laden on this December 23rd. It's Monday, Christmas Eve. Here's your Ramsey Mazda 3-day weather forecast to kick things off. Well, it's frigid right now. Brick outside, as some say. Clear, the overnight low right around 13 degrees, which is where we're at right now in Midtown. And later today, sunny skies expected, getting to a high near 29. With the wind chill more like something between 5 and 15. So bundle up if you're heading out. Wind chill values between 25 and 35 later today. Tonight into Tuesday, potential for snow showers. It looks like there's a 50% chance of snow. And then tomorrow the snow will taper off going into the early afternoon. Cloudy from there, gradually becoming mostly sunny on Tuesday, Christmas Eve. And then 14 degrees right now in Midtown Manhattan, 5 degrees in Somerset, New Jersey, 13 degrees in Smithtown on Long Island. That's the weather forecast from the Ramsey Mazda Weather Center. So soon, it's Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. Maybe a lot of you have the week off, or you're up early baking, or maybe getting some last-minute shopping done for food or gifts. Hanukkah actually begins on Christmas night this year, and then Kwanzaa begins on the 26th, so it's all kind of tightly wound and woven in this year. If you're going to be attending any parties or get-togethers, hangouts, I have you covered with a fun little factoid or thing to tell your friends and family. I like to do this sort of thing at parties. Maybe you do too. Scientists think they've figured out why red wine comes with bad hangovers. So you're talking at the party, people are drinking, maybe somebody's got red wine, and you could say, I know why red wine causes hangovers. It's all in the grape skin, the skin. See, I learned this a few years back while visiting wine country in California, that the color of the wine is due to the skins being left in during fermentation. In other words, red grapes make white wine too, but without the skins left in, it's just the juice, so it remains clear mostly, or, mostly with the white wine color. And that's part of the hangover. While tannins have been talked about and blamed for years, smeared, you might say, tannins, it's actually the quercetin that causes the headache and brain fog the next day. Quercetin. And that's according to two scientists at the University of California, Davis. So the Cabernets and the Pinot Noirs, which just happen to be my favorites, they packed the biggest punch with a hangover. Andrew Waterhouse, an enology professor, and Pramita Devi, a postdoctoral researcher in food and science technology, told The Conversation red wines contain a lot of quercetin, which is affecting the body's ability to process alcohol properly. So you can tell people at your parties it's the grape skins and the quercetin that causes those red wine hangovers. In a much less pleasant discussion, the biggest news story for sure around these parts over the weekend was the brutal and horrific murder of a woman on a subway train. Still trying to figure out more about the victim. Maybe she's homeless. Some people have said that she lived on the subway train. At any rate, she was sleeping on the subway train when she was attacked Sunday morning, yesterday, lit on fire, burned to death. And an illegal immigrant, a man who had migrated here from Guatemala, has been arrested and accused in the crime. Again, it was early morning yesterday on an F train around 7:30. And that's a line, the F train, that's been in the news for other reasons, because it was an F train where Jordan Neely died in 2023 with the whole Daniel Penny incident. But in this case, the woman was sleeping on the train, per reports, and this creep from Guatemala allegedly walks up to her and either tosses a lit match on the woman or holds a lighter to her clothes. She was sleeping on the bench on the subway. It doesn't seem they knew each other, like a totally random incident, according to cops. And one of the most horrifying aspects of this all is that there's bystander cell phone video of the woman on fire, standing up, holding the subway pole. And a cop walks by the open subway doors. The suspect, the guy that was eventually arrested, is just sitting there on the bench, like directly across from the burning woman. And he's posted up like he's watching TV or something, just watching the woman burn to death. The suspect, an illegal immigrant from Guatemala, has been in New York since 2018, reports say. He's 33 years old. And so because of the fact that cops responded this way, they had a clear image of the suspect with the body cams that they wear. And the cop had told this guy sitting there, who, again, turned out to be the suspect, to get away because of the fire. He's like, I got to close down the platform. You got to get out of here. Not realizing at that moment that this guy had allegedly done the whole thing. So word gets out, the video goes viral of this extremely disturbing and sad, horrific images. The woman burning, the cop crossing by, the creep just sitting there. That's people, that's witnesses who are reacting to it. And if you haven't seen the video, I don't necessarily recommend watching it. It's the kind of thing that stays with you for a while, if you know what I mean. But they put out the image of this guy, and eventually they did catch him, and now he's in custody. NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch talking about it yesterday.
What they saw was a person standing inside the train car, fully engulfed in flames.
And what happened was, as we mentioned, cops put the image out of the guy wanted for this. A group of high school kids actually saw him and called 911.
We asked the media to broadcast those images far and wide so we could use the viewing public as a force multiplier. And New Yorkers came through again.
So he was spotted on a subway. You know how that works. Cops called ahead, stopped the train. The guy was spotted at the next station, and going car to car, they arrested him, allegedly wearing the same jacket that he's seen wearing in the video of the incident. And allegedly this guy had a lighter on him. Joseph Galata is NYPD's transit chief.
Our transit sergeant responded to that location, met with these young high school students, looked inside the train, and saw an individual that he recognized from wanted flyers that we got out earlier.
So suffice it to say, it's caused plenty of discussion about subway crime, migrant crime, the state of the subways in general, in an embarrassing moment for Governor Kathy Hochul. Her official social media account had posted what looked to be like a scheduled post of her on a subway taking a selfie with people, talking about how safe the subways are and the National Guard they put down there and stuff. So bad timing for Governor Hochul. And all of this while congestion pricing is coming. So that wasn't the end of it in terms of the violence in the subways yesterday. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about some big changes for the NYPD and some scandal that they're dealing with. But WABC News Time, 5:07, James Flippin filling in for Noam Laden. WABC News Time, 5:10, James Flippin filling in for Noam Laden. Always great to get an update from the RayKatina.com traffic desk. And as we're talking about this horrific incident last night, or yesterday morning, I should say, on the subways. Meanwhile, last night, a man was stabbed to death in a robbery attempt on a 7 train in Woodside. 2 people were shot, and people ran for their life on a subway platform in Sheepshead Bay. That was a Q train after gunfire rang out, and the search is on for the shooter there. So, again, continuing problems with the subways in New York City. And as for the NYPD, while catching the creep in that burning is certainly a success story, they've got a new mess on their hands in terms of the top department brass. 2 major changes were made to NYPD leadership over the weekend.
First was the sudden resignation of Chief of Department Jeffrey Maddrey following accusations of sexual misconduct. Federal authorities now looking into claims that Maddrey made sexual demands in exchange for overtime. Mayor Eric Adams addressed the accusations.
The allegations are extremely concerning and alarming. The police commissioner is doing a full review of all personnel.
The second shakeup came shortly after Maddrey's resignation. Chief of Internal Affairs Miguel Iglesias is also leaving his position. The New York Post reports the move was in response to the department's handling of the claims against Maddrey. I'm Liz Radabali for 77 WABC News.
And read a account, I should say, this weekend of the claims made by the NYPD sergeant, Queticia Epps, who says that basically she was friends with Maddrey and that she faced financial problems. And he said, we're going to make sure we get you overtime and this kind of stuff. And that led to a extended quid pro quo where allegedly he was getting sexual favors from her in exchange for all this overtime. And the original report I thought that had sort of popped was that this woman Epps was the highest paid employee in the NYPD, or among the highest paid, because she got like $400,000 in terms of overtime. And she says that then Madry launched a criminal investigation against her, maybe because the whole thing stopped, and that she then said, okay, well, actually what's been going on here is this whole thing where I'm getting overtime because I'm doing stuff for him. So just a real mess of a situation for the NYPD. And then the other guy who's stepping down, allegedly, it's because NYPD Commissioner Tisch had said, you got to get on Madry about this whole thing, and he stayed away from it. All right, well, it is Festivus, the made-up holiday from the beloved 1990s sitcom Seinfeld, and celebrated every December 23rd. The alternate Christmas holiday involves food, family, and the airing of grievances.
And at the Festivus dinner, you gather your family around and tell them all the ways they have disappointed you over the past year.
And is there a tree?
No, instead there's a pole. Requires no decoration.
Yeah, he found tinsel distracting, Mr. Costanza. And after that, you can wrestle friends and families as you perform feats of strength. The holiday was inspired by real-life Seinfeld writer Dan O'Keefe's holiday traditions. And he's from the Hudson Valley, I believe, Dan O'Keefe, Westchester County, I think. But in much sadder holiday news, a Saudi Arabian man who is apparently a radical atheist of some kind drove into a crowded Christmas market in Germany last Friday. And then New Yorkers saw an enhanced presence of cops around the city over the weekend, including counterterrorism teams, critical response command, and patrol officers.
NYPD Deputy Commissioner of Intelligence and Counterterrorism Rebecca Weiner says it's for safety and reassurance.
Not because we see any link between what's happened in Germany and this city, but this is to reassure New Yorkers that we're going to be protecting our infrastructure and our events.
The driver of a rented BMW plowed into the crowd and has been identified as a 50-year-old Saudi Arabian doctor. I'm Lisa Ritchie for 77 WABC News.
And in that attack, 5 people were killed, more than 200 were injured. The suspect held on murder charges. Cops said early yesterday they had an arrest warrant for murder and attempted murder at that busy holiday market in Magdeburg. The suspect, 50-year-old psychiatrist resident of Germany, originally from Saudi Arabia, and cops say the motive remains unclear, but the suspect has been critical of Islam, who's also critical of Germany's treatment of Saudi refugees. All right, we're going to check in on the sports desk here, as there is some big news for New York sports fans, and also looking around all the major leagues over the weekend. The Mets brought back a key part of their starting pitching rotation. The team obviously made a surprise appearance in the NLCS last year, and lefty Sean Manaea was a big part of that. At times, he was more or less the Mets' ace last year, and he's re-signed to join New York again on a 3-year, $75 million contract. The 32-year-old went 12-6 with a 3.47 ERA and racked up 184 strikeouts and 182 2/3 innings pitched in 2024. And while he did sort of tire down the stretch at times, he also really took his game to the next level in the second half of the year when he dropped to a more sidearm angle, emulating Chris Sale of the Braves, the eventual Cy Young winner. As the story goes there, Manaea watched one of Sale's starts and thought, I could do that, and he did, at least with fairly similar success during that stint. And so the Mets starting rotation starting to firm up a bit here. Certainly possible they bring in another starter, but the spots are filling up for what's expected to be a 6-man rotation, including Manaea, David Peterson, Kodai Senga, the newly signed Clay Holmes, Frankie Montas, another free agent signee, and they do have some depth from there, but another signing could be possible. Sean Manaea, who played for the Giants previously but came up with the Oakland A's, well, MLB legend and longtime A's outfielder Rickey Henderson died over the weekend at the age of 65, and sources say the Hall of Famer Henderson actually passed away Friday in Oakland after being hospitalized with pneumonia. Henderson, the league's all-time stolen bases leader, is widely considered to be the best leadoff hitter to ever play the sport. He played for 9 MLB teams during what was a 25-year career, including a good chunk of time with the Yankees in the 80s, and then he served a key role with the 1999 Mets as well. If you missed it last night, the Raiders put an end to their 10-game losing streak, and that means the Giants currently hold the number 1 pick in the upcoming draft after New York got smoked by the Falcons down in Atlanta. And by the way, as for those Raiders, rookie tight end Brock Bowers had 11 catches yesterday afternoon, I should say, for 99 yards, and is now just 10 yards shy of breaking Mike Ditka's NFL rookie record for tight ends. The Jets, unable to grab a second straight win, they fell to the Los Angeles Rams 19-9 at MetLife Stadium yesterday. Aaron Rodgers went 28 of 42 passing for 256 yards and a touchdown. The Rangers have dropped 4 of their last 5 games after falling to the Hurricanes at MSG 3-1 last night. The NHL Department of Player Safety suspending Rangers forward Matt Rempe. Going to miss 8 games for a hit on Dallas Stars defenseman Miro Heiskanen. And the Isles are back home after a 3-game road trip. They'll be taking on the Buffalo Sabres tonight. Down in Miami, the Nets will take on the Heat. With sports, I'm James Flippin. WABC News Time, 5:20. James Flippin filling in on this Monday, December 23rd. Over the weekend, Tiger Woods' son hit his first hole-in-one at the PNC Championship in Orlando. Charlie Woods playing alongside his famous father. And while they did not win the tournament, Woods said being there for his 15-year-old's son hole-in-one was the thrill of a lifetime. And that tournament includes golfers who have won a major and then a family member. A holiday season government shutdown has been avoided. We get the latest now from Washington.
Following its passage in the Republican-controlled House, the Senate followed suit, passing a bipartisan funding bill by a vote of 85-11.
There will be no government shutdown right before Christmas.
Democratic Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer praising the development. It capped a chaotic week that saw President-elect Trump and Elon Musk cast doubt on whether an agreement might be reached.
This is a good bill. It'll keep the government open.
President-elect Trump's demand to either raise or abolish the debt ceiling was not popular with many of his Republican colleagues and was not included. The bill did include $100 billion for disaster relief. I'm Scott Carr in Washington.
And the new year in D.C. will be headlined by President-elect Trump's inauguration. Trump saying the U.S. may take back the Panama Canal. And speaking yesterday at the Turning Point USA's America Fest in Arizona, Trump told the conservative crowd it will happen if Panama doesn't stop overcharging the U.S. for the use of the key Central American waterway.
It was given to Panama and to the people of Panama, but it has provisions. You got to treat us fairly, and they haven't treated us fairly. If the principles, both moral and legal, of this magnanimous gesture of giving are not followed, then we will demand that the Panama Canal be returned to the United States of America in full, quickly, and without question. I'm not going to stand for it. So to the officials of Panama, please be guided accordingly.
And the United States did build the Panama Canal with help from engineers and laborers around the world. A French company first started the project in 1881, but then stopped due to construction problems about 10 years later. And so Trump calls the fees being charged by Panama ridiculous and highly unfair. And he says that he knows Panamanian politicians will be quick to respond to this. He was right. Grace Hernandez, a deputy from the opposition MACA party, M-O-C-A party, said on X, the Panamanian government has the duty to defend our autonomy as an independent country. President-elect Trump also dismissing widespread condemnation and speculation and criticism from those on the left that billionaire Elon Musk controls the White House or will.
No, that's not happening.
Again, speaking at that event, Turning Point USA in Phoenix, Trump responded to claims from high-profile Democrats that Musk is helping to shape his policies or just shaping them outright.
And no, he's not taking the presidency. I like having smart people.
Musk and Trump faced some controversy last week after the billionaire publicly criticized the spending bill that was aimed at averting the government shutdown. Trump then followed up and criticized it as well. Musk has been tapped to run the Department of Government Efficiency, which Trump plans to create once he takes office next month. A Democratic senator says there needs to be tougher regulations on drone flying in the U.S. Senator Ben Cardin says the country needs tougher regulations on drone flying within its borders. In an interview on Fox News Sunday, the Maryland Democrat indicated concerns over recent drone sightings across the U.S. are being overblown.
Well, in regards to the recent observations, we've been informed that there's no threat against our country. There is a desperate need for us to get a handle on drones and the regulation of drones and where they can fly.
So he's saying that there's already a massive number of private drones flying any given time. And then there's, of course, plenty of planes up there. There's concern that residents may have misidentified some of these drones as such. Cardin maintains the lack of regulation is a vulnerability that officials need to ensure never becomes an actual national security threat.
There are so many drones that are in the air today, many of them just done by private on recreational use by individuals. There's aircraft that are identified as drones that are not drones.
So this is kind of an ongoing thing here where you've had official accounts from people like John Kirby, the national security director, who says you're not really seeing what you think you are. And I think maybe Alejandro Mayorkas had similar comments. But a lot of people have said, hey, look, I've seen what I've seen, and I know these are drones, and I took video and all that. New York County, out on Long Island, Nassau County, is authorizing police to shoot down drones. Police Commissioner Patrick Ryder said at a press conference Friday the Nassau County Police Department has been authorized to shoot down any drone that's a threat to the public, such as at a mass gathering. Nassau County received equipment for their command center that now allows them to see any drones in a given area. And there is a new update to the whole drone story that has everyone's eyes glued to the skies around the tri-state.
One stargazer says he witnessed a drone drop a glowing object on Staten Island. Retired NYPD Detective John Scotto says he witnessed what he believed to be a military drone drop the object with a light before flying away back on December 14th. This comes as the FAA placed temporary restrictions on flight areas in New York and New Jersey around critical infrastructure. Meanwhile, the federal government maintains that the recent phenomenon does not pose a threat to national security. I'm Liz Radabali for 77 WABC News.
In financial news, it's a shortened trading week on Wall Street, trading abbreviated thanks to the Christmas holiday. The market closes, I think, around 1 o'clock on Christmas Eve and should be closed out right. Will be closed out right on Christmas. U.S. stocks finished higher Friday. It was an upbeat end to what was a challenging week for the market. Cooler than expected inflation data provided a boost to sentiment, talking about the PCE for November, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, that is the Fed's preferred gauge of inflation, and it rose 2.4% annually in November. That was a tad under what economists had expected, and that was a good thing for the market because on Wednesday, when the Fed announced a rate cut, it also indicated that just 2 more rate cuts could be coming in 2025. And the market did not necessarily like that because a lot of people thought there was going to be 3 rate cuts in 2025. In economic data Friday, U.S. consumer sentiment rose for the 5th straight month. And then as for major economic reports on the horizon, today we'll get consumer confidence. New home sales follow tomorrow. Weekly jobless claims Thursday. And then things will be pretty quiet until this coming Monday when we have the release of pending home sales. The year, of course, comes to a close on December 31st with not much on the calendar except for the S&P Case-Shiller Home Price Index. WABC News Time, 5:27. WABC News Time, 5:29. James Flippin filling in for Noam Laden here during this holiday season. Noam getting some time to rest, relax, spend time with family. And, of course, we know Christmas dinner heading our way on Wednesday. It's the last big eating holiday of the year. More now on what you're consuming and how to burn it off.
Poultry giant Jennie-O says 6 in 10 of us will eat turkey. 318 million pounds of ham will make it to the table collectively, and 69% of all Americans will eat a roast for their holiday feast. And this big eating event with all the sides and dessert comes at a cost of about 7,000 calories. According to MyFitnessPal, to burn that off, you'd have to walk nonstop for 8.5 days, or swim 12 hours, or do 87,000 jumping jacks. I'm Bree Tennis.
All right, with Xmas bearing down, Amazon and Starbucks are on strike. Gifts, of course, and gift giving are in focus. And what's up with bird flu? All of that and more on the 5 a.m. News Hour. James Flippin filling in for Noam Laden.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Well, Noam is off for the day. It's James Flippin, as a matter of fact. And good morning on this December 23rd, Christmas Eve. Monday. Here's your Ramsey Mazda 3-day weather forecast. It's very cold outside right now, just 13 degrees in Midtown Manhattan. Later today, sunny, rising to a high near 29. And with the wind chill, more like something between 5 and 15 degrees. But Tonight into Tuesday, there is potential for snow showers. It looks like maybe a 50% chance of snow. Tomorrow, the snow will taper off going into the afternoon for your Christmas Eve events. And cloudy from there, gradually becoming mostly sunny. 13 degrees in Midtown Manhattan, 5 degrees in Somerset, New Jersey, 14 degrees in Smithtown on Long Island. And that's the weather forecast from the Ramsey Mazda Weather Center. It's another day of the Teamsters union strike against Amazon as Christmas is just days away. Amazon, the online shopping giant, says this is not as big as it's being sold because only around 1% of its workforce are union members. One of the big sticking points, drivers, because drivers say they want to be recognized by Amazon as employees. Many of them work for third-party companies. They also say they want better working conditions and pay. Amazon says the strike has not really disrupted its operations much. Meanwhile, Starbucks union workers are striking in several cities with a pledge to keep the movement going through Christmas Eve unless a new collective bargaining agreement is reached. And so it is officially gift-giving season, but young adults are doing more self-shopping.
Almost half of Gen Z and millennials are purchasing their own gifts this holiday season, according to the consulting firm Deloitte. The most popular seasonal splurges include clothing, accessories, electronics, travel, live events, and health and wellness. Gen Z and millennials are expected to be the drivers in a holiday sales surge this year, with Gen Z's holiday budget rising 37% and millennials' budget rising 16%, according to the accounting firm PwC. Other influences of the self-gifting trend are social media influencers and self-care marketing. I'm Chris Coraggio.
Well, this is a very bizarre story out of Connecticut, and one that you just kind of are left with a crappy feeling. Sorry, I had to do that because this Connecticut woman has gone from believing she was on a roll to feeling wiped out and not enjoying the go. All right, so what are we talking about here? After taking an online quiz, Junie Senft received an email saying she had won a year's supply of Charmin toilet paper. But she was less than bowled over when she received a follow-up email from Charmin saying, and we're not making this up, oopsie, we made a poopsie. Charmin said the first email was sent by error, and instead she's receiving a $2 Charmin coupon. She's not the only one to see a royal flush turn into a couple single-ply sheets. I think these writers are going a little heavy with the puns here. Others across the country have reported a similar experience. Senft told her story to NBC Connecticut, who said they're still waiting on responses from Charmin's parent company, Procter & Gamble, and from the company that ran the sweepstakes. So maybe not exactly the intended result there with the advertising of that thing. President Biden is commuting the death sentences of 37 people, leaving just 3 federal prisoners on death row in America. President Biden announced that he condemns the murders committed but can't in good conscience advocate for the death penalty at the federal level. The White House has imposed a moratorium on executions. The president says he can't let a new administration resume the executions that he halted. The 3 remaining death row inmates are Robert Bowers, who killed 11 people in the Tree of Life synagogue shooting. That was in Pittsburgh in 2018. Dylan Roof, who killed 9 people at a historically black church in Charleston, South Carolina in 2015. And then Johar Tsarnaev, one of the 2013 Boston Marathon bombers. Those 3 do remain on death row. WABC News Time, 5:39 on this Monday, December 23rd. I'm James Flippin, filling in for Noam Laden. And a programming note that Noam, our beloved news director, as Curtis Sliwa would say, is back in the news chair on Christmas Day. And later this morning, it'll be 77 WABC owner-operator John Katsimatidis and Curtis Sliwa co-hosting.
Curtis out there being a clown.
Well, it's cold. It's dark all the time. It's windy. People are packing into rooms to try and stay warm. It's the season for sneezing, kicking up into full gear, all while the rise in bird flu cases continues.
Federal health officials said Wednesday the first person to contract a severe case of bird flu from a backyard flock was hospitalized in Louisiana. The unidentified individual is one of 64 confirmed human cases in the U.S. According to the CDC, this is the first case of illness to come from a backyard flock, and the strain is different from the one found in cattle, poultry, and farm workers. The strain of bird flu is similar to that found in wild birds, birds and a human case in Washington State and British Columbia. I'm Lisa Carton.
The week is off to a good start for SpaceX. The company had a successful launch this morning. A Falcon 9 rocket blasted off at 12:35 from Kennedy Space Center, carrying 21 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit. Well, President-elect Trump says he will launch a mass deportation effort when he takes office. What does that mean for different parts of the country? Well, it means a lot for Southern California.
A new report by the Brookings Institution says 1.6 million people in 5 Southern California counties could be deported with President-elect Trump's plans. The report says those counties are L.A., Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, and San Diego. Those counties singled out nationwide as areas with the most undocumented immigrants. Trump's plans have not been clearly detailed, but he says it will include refugees with temporary protected status and dreamers brought to the U.S. as children. I'm Bree Tennis.
And back in New York now, a woman is dead after she was allegedly set on fire while sleeping on a subway train in Brooklyn. Cops were called out yesterday morning and found a woman fully engulfed in flames inside the station. They were able to put out the fire, but the woman was pronounced dead a short time later. Witnesses told police a person had walked up to the victim while she was sleeping and used a lighter to ignite her clothing. And cops say they don't think the suspect and victim knew each other. That suspect, said to be a 33-year-old illegal immigrant from Guatemala, is now in custody. A group of high school kids recognized him from news reports or, photos that had gone viral online and called cops, said they saw him on the subway. Cops called the train operator and had it stopped at the station, and they arrested the suspect. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, her social media post yesterday touting a decrease of subway crime is being criticized as it came amid that fatal subway burning and also a stabbing last night. Hochul's post came some 8 hours after the homeless woman was burned alive on an F train. And comments on the post slammed the governor's claim of subway crime going down, many asking if she had missed the news. It did look like it was probably one of those automated posts on her account. Not that that makes it much better. New York City Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch announced over the weekend that Chief of Internal Affairs Miguel Iglesias was relieved of his command and told authorities he planned to retire. That move came hours after Chief of Department Jeffrey Madry resigned abruptly. Madry's resignation came amid allegations that he had traded sexual favors with a female subordinate in exchange for approving tons of overtime for her. Iglesias reportedly ignored Tisch's requests, the NYPD commissioner, to investigate Madry before Madry resigned amid those allegations of quid pro quo. And Tisch has said the NYPD is dedicated to integrity and that she'll continue to root out corruption within the force. Laura Trump is withdrawing her name from consideration to be a Florida senator.
Over the weekend, Donald Trump's daughter-in-law made a social media post that said she made the decision, quote, after an incredible amount of thought, contemplation, and encouragement. The move ended speculation that she was interested in replacing Republican Senator Marco Rubio, who the president-elect has nominated to serve as Secretary of State. Laura Trump has also announced she will step down as co-chair of the Republican National Convention. I'm Jim Forbes.
Comedian Tom Green is engaged. He made that announcement yesterday on Instagram Threads, declaring his love for Amanda. He didn't reveal any other details about Amanda other than her picture. And Green's rep says the couple is from the same hometown in Canada. Green was previously married to actress Drew Barrymore in the early 2000s. Nuna Baby Essentials recalling over 600,000 car seats concerning a harness issue. The company says the recall affects Rava models made from July 2016 to October 2023. Apparently, debris can get stuck where the front harness adjuster button is, causing the mechanism to fail, and it could result in a loose harness. According to Nuna, a loose harness can increase the risk of injury in a crash. Nebraska Governor Jim Pillen is injured after falling from his horse. Pillen was horseback riding with family members yesterday when he was thrown from a new horse and injured. The 68-year-old taken to the hospital in Omaha, where he is expected to remain for several days. Officials say Pillen is alert and in contact with his team. All right, let's check in on the sports desk now. Some good news for local baseball fans, at least if they're of the Mets fan variety. The Mets brought back a key part of their starting pitching rotation. The team obviously made a surprise appearance in the NLCS last year, and lefty Sean Manaea was a big part of that. At times, he was more or less the Mets' ace last year, and he's re-signed to join New York again on a 3-year, $75 million contract. The 32-year-old went 12-6 with a 3.47 ERA and racked up 184 strikeouts and 182 2/3 innings pitched in 2024. And while he did sort of tire down the stretch at times, he also really took his game to the next level in the second half of the year when he dropped to a more sidearm angle, emulating Chris Sale of the Braves, the eventual Cy Young winner. As the story goes there, Manaea watched one of Sale's starts and thought, I could do that, and he did, at least with fairly similar success during that stint. And so the Mets starting rotation starting to firm up a bit here. Certainly possible they bring in another starter, but the spots are filling up for what's expected to be a 6-man rotation, including Manaea, David Peterson, Kodai Senga, the newly signed Clay Holmes, Frankie Montas, another free agent signee, and they do have some depth from there, but another signing could be possible. Sean Manaea, who played for the Giants previously but came up with the Oakland A's, well, MLB legend and longtime A's outfielder Rickey Henderson died over the weekend at the age of 65. And sources say the Hall of Famer Henderson actually passed away Friday in Oakland after being hospitalized with pneumonia. Henderson, the league's all-time stolen bases leader, is widely considered to be the best leadoff hitter to ever play the sport. He played for 9 MLB teams during what was a 25-year career, including a good chunk of time with the Yankees in the 80s, and then he served a key role with the 1999 Mets as well. If you missed it last night, the Raiders put an end to their 10-game losing streak, and that means the Giants currently hold the number 1 pick in the upcoming draft after New York got smoked by the Falcons down in Atlanta. And by the way, as for those Raiders, rookie tight end Brock Bowers had 11 catches yesterday afternoon, I should say, for 99 yards, and is now just 10 yards shy of breaking Mike Ditka's NFL rookie record for tight ends. The Jets, unable to grab a second straight win, they fell to the Los Angeles Rams 19-9 at MetLife Stadium yesterday. Aaron Rodgers went 28 of 42 passing for 256 yards and a touchdown. The Rangers have dropped 4 of their last 5 games after falling to the Hurricanes at MSG 3-1 last night. The NHL Department of Player Safety suspending Rangers forward Matt Rempe. Going to miss 8 games for a hit on Dallas Stars defenseman Miro Heiskanen. And the Isles are back home after a 3-game road trip. They'll be taking on the Buffalo Sabres tonight. Down in Miami, the Nets will take on the Heat. With sports, I'm James Flippin. WABC News Time, 5:49, in just over 10 minutes' time. Sid and Friends in the Morning with 77 WABC owner-operator John Katsimatidis and Curtis Sliwa sitting in as hosts. 2 U.S. Navy pilots are reported to be doing okay after a friendly fire incident over the Red Sea this weekend.
Central Command says the pilot's FA-18 Super Hornet jet had just taken off from the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier early Sunday when it was fired upon with a guided cruise missile from the USS Gettysburg. No explanation was given. Officials say both pilots were able to safely eject, with only one of them sustaining minor injuries. An investigation is underway. I'm Scott Carr in Washington.
Apple is reportedly working on a smart doorbell. According to Bloomberg, the doorbell would use Apple's Face ID tech to scan people as they approach and automatically unlock the door for residents. It likely wouldn't be available before the end of 2025 at the earliest. Good morning. This is James Flippin filling in for Noam Laden as we come up on 5:51 Monday morning, December 23rd. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is concerned, he says, about online rhetoric following the killing here in New York of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Appearing on CBS's Face the Nation, Mayorkas said his agency is watching the outpouring of support on social media for Thompson's alleged assassin, Luigi Mangione.
It speaks of what is really bubbling here in this country, and unfortunately, we see that manifested in violence. The domestic violent extremism that exists, the threat of it in the United States is one of the great threat streams that we must counter.
Mangione accused of gunning down Thompson the morning of December 4th in Midtown, just outside the Hilton Hotel, and he was arrested less than a week later with a manifesto on him that appears to express anger at the private health insurance industry for denying patients life-saving medical care. Mayorkas says he's alarmed by the heroism that is being attributed to an alleged murderer. President-elect Trump is promising to crack down on drug cartels operating along the southern border.
Speaking to a packed house at the America Fest event in Phoenix, Arizona on Sunday, Trump noted the drug epidemic and specifically mentioned fentanyl coming through the U.S.-Mexico border. He pledged to designate the cartels as foreign terrorists and get them out of the U.S. with mass deportations, calling it a Liberation Day. Trump drew cheers when he began talking about his election win, telling the conservative group, "It's not my victory, it's your victory." I'm Mark Mayfield.
And meanwhile, Trump may be doing a 180 on TikTok. During the final year of his first term in the White House, Trump signed an executive order issuing sanctions against TikTok, which is owned by a Chinese company. Speaking at that America Fest, basically Trump said he may think there's a future for TikTok in the U.S. He talked about the success his campaign enjoyed on the popular short-form video app and says after seeing that success, he thinks it's time to start thinking about TikTok. His comments coming just weeks before TikTok faces a deadline to be sold by its Chinese parent company, ByteDance, or it would be banned, as Congress argues it poses a national security risk amid the way the Chinese Communist Party requires companies to share information. And Trump has also nominated Chad Mizell to be the next chief of staff at the Department of Justice.
Mizell was formerly a Homeland Security official, but is now a chief legal officer at an investment firm made by Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Trump said Mizell will work closely with his choice for Attorney General Pam Bondi. Apart from Mizell, Trump also announced another DOJ selection over the weekend, picking Aaron Reitz to head the Office of Legal Policy. I'm Jim Forbes.
Holiday travelers will want to keep a close eye on the weather this week. There's a storm that could bring a white Christmas from North Dakota east into Michigan and the Northeast, while freeze and frost advisories are in effect as far south as parts of Georgia and Florida. Fans of Die Hard will be happy that Rotten Tomatoes calls it a Christmas movie, but not so happy that it landed in 8th place on their Christmas movies top 10. Based on the movie reviews website Certified Fresh Ratings, Meet Me in St. Louis is the best Christmas movie. You're likely seeing the word Christmas abbreviated a lot. What's up with that?
Feathers have been ruffled for years over shortening the word Christmas to Xmas, but historians say it's okay, and it's in no way disrespectful, because X is the Greek letter for CHI, and its use dates back to Constantine the Great, who was the Roman emperor back in the year 306. Historians say the shorthand was used because paper was super expensive. But if you're following etiquette, Vogue says you should always write out the word. I'm Bree Tennis.
And it's gift-giving season, but many young adults are doing more self-shopping, according to a survey from Deloitte. Half of Gen Z and millennials purchase their own gifts. The most popular seasonal splurges include clothing, accessories, electronics, live events like concerts, travel, and then health and wellness. Gen Z and millennials expected to be the drivers in holiday sales, with Gen Z's holiday budget rising 37% this year, millennials' budget rising 16%, and that's according to the accounting firm PricewaterhouseCoopers. A couple in Brick, New Jersey, are the new owners of Bright Star Care, a medical staffing franchise that serves families in New Jersey. Rick and Deepika Parimi say one of their goals is to partner with the local Veterans Affairs Office to better serve the community. And we were just talking a couple minutes ago about Luigi Mangione, the suspected CEO killer. Well, this weekend in Washington Square Park, there was another gathering dedicated to that guy.
Help! Overwhelmed! 2 weeks ago, it was a look-alike competition for the previously unnamed suspect that made headlines this weekend. A small group of supporters of Luigi Mangione protested, claiming the shooter is not a danger to society.
I'm not scared of him if he was walking on the street today. And if you are scared, it says something about what your company or what your actions have caused normal people to go through.
The group went after the country's healthcare system and compared Mangione to Gandhi, MLK, and Nelson Mandela. Mangione is facing 11 state charges in New York, including murder with an enhanced terrorism charge. I'm Liz Radabali for 77 WABC News.
The house featured in the Home Alone film has found new owners. The 5-bedroom, 6-bathroom home in Illinois sold for over $5 million. The house received national attention after it was put on the market earlier this year. Actor Macaulay Culkin, who starred as Kevin McAllister in those films, revealed he did once consider buying the home, admitting he had half a mind to buy it just for giggles. WABC News Time, 5:57. Our last check right here in the 5 a.m. news hour of Traffic and Transit with Joe Nolan. And WABC News Time, 5:59. James Flippin filling in for Noam Laden this morning. And coming up this morning on Sid and Friends, John Katsimatidis and Curtis Lewa sitting in. And Cardinal Timothy Dolan will be among the guests. Won't you join us? The spirit of the season. He'll have his Christmas message, Cardinal Timothy Dolan. A holiday season government shutdown avoided over the weekend as the House passed a stopgap measure, 366 to 34, with the Senate following suit. Following that funding bill, the Senate's vote, 85 to 11. New York Senior Senator, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer praising the development.
There will be no government shutdown right before Christmas. This is a good bill. It'll keep the government open.
And your Ramsey Mazda weather forecast here. It's frigid right now. Brick outside. It's 13 degrees. Skies are clear. Later today, looking sunny with a high near 29, but with the wind chill more like between 15 and 5. And then overnight into Tuesday, there is a chance of snow. Tomorrow, the snow will taper off in the afternoon. Cloudy from there, gradually becoming mostly sunny. And that is our Ramsey Mazda weather forecast. James Flippin filling in for Noam Laden this morning. Coming up on Sid and Friends, it'll be John and Curtis sitting in.